Hello everyone and welcome to Kiss and Create channel. We are going to work in my memory journal today, and this is a journal. You might have seen it before. It's a journal I created. It's about a 2-inch journal bound that I did a few years back now, or a couple of years ago, and I've been working on it slowly. It's just a memory journal. I'm going to work on this particular page, and the memory is going to be of a event that a few of my friends and I went to. It was a kind of a going away, end of an era party, and we had a reserved table, and they called us the adventure group. So part of what I do when I a go to one of these and collect a memory and go to journal is I collect the items to start off with before I sit down and actually do the journaling. And one of the items that I collected for this particular journal event was take that table reserved placard, and we're going to use that as part of the journal item. And then I took a little note card that said life is a zoo. I think I'm going to use that in a pocket. I'll make the pocket out of some scrap paper that I had, some construction paper. And I also have a little picture that I'm going to put on there as well, and I covered that with some paper to preserve the privacy of the people that are in it for right now. I think that's what I'm going to do. This layout looks pretty good. It might change a little bit as we go along, but I think that looks pretty good. It's going to be really simple. Nothing too crazy for today. Just super, super simple. Yeah. I'm going to keep the life as a zoo because they called us an adventure group, so I think that's super cute. So those corners are hanging off a little bit, so I'm going to kind of cut up them off here and there. Nothing too fancy. I'm not going to use any crazy instruments. I'm going to mark it and use my hands. Cut them off. No scissors. Just cut them. Yeah. Looks good. No straight lines. Having fun. Feel it with my heart. That looks good. Now, I don't know if you can see, but this paper it's really thick, one, but it's also a little shiny. And I don't know if I really want it shiny. So I'm going to take this dauber that used to be a spool of twine that I created into a dauber for ink. And I'm going to use this distressed oxide. It's a Ranger frayed burlap. And I'm going to distress it a bit, turn it into a not so shiny piece of paper. Not that it needs to be less shiny, but I want it to be less shiny. I'm not feeling shiny today. So shiny, shiny is always good, believe me. But I want this one needs to be less shiny, not as adventurous as today. So adventure, zoo, it should be safari-esque. So burlap it is, and a little more distressed it should be. So scratching off the paper and just being a little bit more fun with it, just having fun. It's not about being perfect. It's about being fun and having fun with your hearts and whatever it feels like. And this is what I want to do today. So this is what I'm doing. And it felt good. Destroying some paper. And it felt great. And it looks great. Oh, I love this. This was so much fun. Yeah, just dimming down that sparkle a little was really good. And then, of course, the paper for the journal note card was a little too bright too, now that it was white. So I'm just going to dim that a little bit on the edges just to match it a bit. And this was a really cute note card. Came in a pack of other animals and such. So I'm just going to use that a little bit, dim it a little, just to the edges a little bit. And I'll journal on this after to record our memory for the night. Now the gluing will come next. I'll get the pages, the little alignment back on, and it'll be about right. I'm never going to never really mark where I need things to be unless it was very specific, where things had to line up specifically. And as you can see, I'm exploding off the edges of these pages for majority of the time. So I'm not really measuring anything. Usually the bottom of the journal pages, I don't go too far beyond the bottom, or because they have to be on a shelf. But for the edges and the tops, not so much. Now for the gluing. Here, if you're paying attention, you are going to see a major flaw here in my gluing technique. Yes, I made a flaw and a vital error in gluing. And it is, I glued an edge that I was intentionally going to be making a pocket out of. So what I did is I'm scraping off glue on the edge of where I want to make a pocket. I'm not going to take that page now, that scrap piece of paper. I'm not getting rid of where that glue is. I'm keeping that glue for another piece of paper that I have to glue down. But I am going to try to salvage the beautiful, grungy piece of paper that I just created, and by covering that edge with another scrap of paper, hopefully now creating a spot that is pocketable, if that's a word, space. And if it's not, if I glued it down, I can make another pocket or create another layout that would make it accessible by that journal card. It wouldn't be a big deal, but I wanted to see if I could salvage it at some point, and I did. It looked like it worked, and it did work. Now this glue, it was not the glue's fault. It was my fault. I was not paying attention. I did not pick up the piece of paper in the fashion that I usually do, but I was able to use that glue on the edge of the table placard so that I could use the edge. Nothing ever goes to waste. Well, we tried never to go to waste. The problem is that this glue, not the problem, but part of what I don't like is that this glue, it actually saved me in this instance. This glue is very liquidy and takes a while to dry. So in this instance, this glue actually helped because it did not dry right away and I could actually use it after I scraped it off. It stayed pretty wet after the fact. So while I waited a little bit to fix my problem of the pockets, it stayed wet on the scrap piece of paper and I could wait while I fixed the issue, and then I could use it to glue down later the placard from the table. However, it is a problem routinely because, as you can see, it is still a wet, very, very liquid glue, and it does take a while to dry enough where the paper, sticks down. So I probably won't be using this glue in the future a lot. It just takes way too long to dry. And I try using very little, and the bottle, I couldn't get the tip to have a small enough hole so that there was just very little to come out. Maybe if I change the top of the bottle, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I wasn't too thrilled with it. I mean, you have to try different types of glues to figure out which one you like the best. It's just the way it is. Trial and error, I guess. All different types. Everybody has a different preference. I have yet to find mine that works all the time. And the climate, it depends on the climate you live in. I live in a climate that changes every season. There's 4 seasons, and 2 of them are so extreme that it actually changes the composition of the glue. So if it's very cold, my glue is very, very difficult. I have to keep it on the heater to make it, soft enough to actually use. And if it's very, very warm, it completely melts and it is way too liquidy to use on a routine basis. So very, very hard. Now, let's continue with the layouts. I could go on about glue. I'm very passionate about glue. We're going on to the picture now. I'm not going to make the same mistake here with the gluing. Here, I'm going to hold the side where I'm not going to put glue. I'm just going to put the glue where I'm going to I'm going to hold with my hand where I'm not going to put glue. That is what you're supposed to do. And I'm going to smush it around a little bit where I put the glue. So I'm trying to push it around a little bit. Less glue, the better. Maybe it will dry quicker. Let's see. La di da. Go. Okay. Now, here we are. Now with this, I'll let this dry a little bit. And while it's drying, because it's the adventure group and it's a little bit of Life's a Zoo, I think I'm going to bring in some stamping. Can't have enough stamps. And I have these travel stamps here. There's some arrows and there's a Bon Voyage stamp here. I think I'm going to use these. They were close at hand and they kind of reminded me of because this was a specific themed kind of event that we were doing. I think we're going to use these. So let's try this. And I'm going to use the frayed burlap ink that we did for the grunging up of our pocket. Same thing as before. And making sure that it is the right way. Never have a stamp upside down. Always check twice. Very important. And I'll try to do this on camera, but I don't think I have enough room here. Do the best we can. Stamp, stamp, stamp. And we'll get a couple stamps on. I'll probably speed this up a little bit so you don't have to wade this out. But stamp a few stamps, get it in onto the paper, and then I will show you the final product. We'll see what you think.